I really truly believe that pelvic floor therapy is it's very different than ankle, foot, back. The marketing's different. The way
Yeah,
the patient's problems are different.
yeah.
I think that the way that the clinic is set up needs to be different. So that's where I feel like people struggle. If you're trying to just add it on because you see that trend line and you're like, oh, I'm going to do it too. It's like,
Yeah.
right. But you can't have, in my opinion,
So we are live. Welcome to the Clinic Boss Show. I am Rick Lau. I'm your host. And for the people who don't know me, I grew and exited 127 locations, and now a $37 billion grocery chain owned my clinics. And I'm on this like amazing journey to like meet all the top healthcare entrepreneurs in the world to learn how to get smarter in business and in life. And if it sounds like you, like welcome to the show. And today we got an amazing special guest, Nicole, and Nicole Cozean. Hopefully I got that right. Nicole is a physical therapist, clinic owner. I'm going to say the word influencer, and also a business coach. And she's on this like mission to change how clinicians treat pelvic floor forever. So Nicole, like I'm curious, like, do you remember how we met?
you know, do I remember? I think, well, I feel like it was through social media
Okay.
somehow, and it was
Yes.
through maybe Aaron LeBauer,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So
I
back
think
in
it
the
was
day,
Aaron
like,
LeBauer. Yes.
yeah, shout out to him because I feel like that was when I was a baby entrepreneur. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. At that time, there weren't very many cash-based folks. There was
Yeah.
nobody that was doing it for business coaching and pelvic health.
Yes.
And so we were kind of like, we were Jesse, and it was my husband, and we were kind of figuring like, okay, I think we need to start this cash-based business, and let's do it. And then we were like, there's nothing to help us to do that. And so, yeah, kind of got in touch with Aaron LeBauer at that point, and just,
I think it
kind
was
of
PT
knew.
BizCon, wasn't it? I think you spoke at PT BizCon with
Yeah, but
Aaron,
it was
and I
right,
was
right.
doing it as well, right?
Yeah. So, but here's the
Yeah.
thing. I spoke at it the first year that he had to do it on, remember, it was COVID. It got
Yes.
canceled. Yeah. I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
get canceled. It pivoted quite quickly.
Yes.
Actually, looking
Yeah.
back at that now, that was a cool thing that had to happen so fast. We didn't know what
Oh
Zoom was
yeah.
all about, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
world was different then. So, but yeah, I think that's how we first got connected, and then since then have been keeping in touch on what's going on, and really admire you and your work and what you've been able to do with your clinics and stuff.
Cool.
And yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
and I,
it.
and I remember a chat the last I remember a chat like a couple years ago, because I think at that point you were just about to start your online community, and now I
Yes.
start seeing taking it off, and so yeah, like it's been awesome to kind of see that community build.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, when we first met, pelvic PT rising wasn't a thing. So it was
Yeah.
mostly pelvic sanity, and I was all clinic focused. And since
Yes.
then, have grown into now, pelvic PT rising, which is a whole other entity, a whole other business unto itself.
Yeah.
But that was, I remember actually shortly after we both did BizCon, I remember connecting, and you were so
Yes.
gracious with your time, and we just like chit chatted, and that was so great. I will never
Chatting with your
forget that.
husband too, right?
Yeah,
Jesse, right?
totally.
We were
And I'll
talking
I'll
about
never
marketing, and then I was admiring your marketing as well.
yeah. And then it was just like, gosh, and we've done that with
Yeah.
folks as well. And I'll never forget that as being like a kind of pay it forward kind of a thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
for that. Cause that was so wonderful to be, because it feels isolating at times. You feel like I think I'm smart and I think I'm doing the right thing, but it helps to have someone else like validate that for you that's also has done
Yeah.
it before. And it's just
Yeah.
really, it was a really neat thing.
Yeah. I think we were talking about that. The conversation we had was like, like at that point, like, do you want to build a community? Do you want to build like a course? Is it a subscription model or is it course? And then we dived into the marketing. And so it's actually kind of cool to see all that stuff. And I was looking at your Instagram, and I think you launched like I think it was called a Pelvicon, right? Like you had like
Pelvicon.
625 people. Was it last year? Like they all flew into like into a in-person event.
Yeah. So last year, this year, 2023 was our second year doing it. Our first year was 2022. So through the interwebs, I got together with a gal named Jessica Rial, who
Yeah.
is another pelvic health physio, a clinic owner. And we got to be friends and basically co-founded this conference called PelviCon. And it's basically all of the things in a conference that we love and nothing that we don't. So, we were looking at things like CSM and things like that, where it's like, oh, what are the things that kind of bother me about that conference? And let's change it for ours.
Yeah.
And we thought,
Wow.
when we
How many
first
days was
launched,
it? Was it 2 days, three
it's a
days?
2-day main conference. We added
Okay.
a pre-con, we have a post-con now.
Okay.
The cool thing about
Nice.
it is that we knew that there was a need. And then I can remember Jessica and I talking, and we were like, how many people do you think we could get to the first Pelvicon? And we're like, I don't know, like 100, 150. The
Yeah.
first Pelvicon sold out in 4 minutes.
That's
And
insane.
we had
How? Like how? Was it just through your
honestly,
Facebook group or like your
yeah,
email?
Facebook
Like
groups,
what?
and Jessica has
Okay.
one too. So Facebook groups and
Yeah.
then online, and we were just like, here's the thing. We didn't even have the speaker lineup yet. And we were
Yeah.
just like, here's this in-person conference is one of the first in-person things that we did post
Yeah.
COVID.
Okay.
And then we were just like, dude, we had to get a different venue. And then we
Okay.
sold, there was 400 people, 375 people at the first one. And then the second
Okay.
one, we're like, let's move venues and go bigger. And we got 625 people there. And then the third one's
Wow.
going to sell, soon on Black Friday. So we'll see. But it's been really great. I feel
100.
like, yeah, it
That
was
that
just,
is insane. That is so. And this was your first time running an event, right? Like the one last year.
yeah.
And what do you think? Do you love it? Like you love being on stage? You like all the like all the event management stuff? Like, what do you think?
I love it. There is nothing better about 600 people
Yeah.
that are all have passionate about pelvic floor health,
Yeah.
all doing the same thing. A lot of them business owners, not all, but a lot of them. And then that just being in the room is so awesome and electric. And we're on this high afterwards. The event planning part is difficult and hard. We did have the ability to Jessica's husband actually has history of his previous job before he joined her at her practice doing events. So we had a
Okay.
little bit of an in with, we weren't starting from ground zero, which is thankful because it's a whole nother ball game. We could have lost a shit ton of money, quite frankly,
Oh yeah,
if we
yeah.
would have
It's
just
a
tried to
full-time
done it.
job,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Planning it, like ticket sales, the coordination, the
Coordination,
management
the
of
day of, I mean, it's like a
vendors,
huge wedding.
yeah, the flow, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, AV team, all that stuff. So we have all of that.
Yeah,
The back end backdaters and everything like that is pretty intensive. It's a
super
full
cool.
blown deal now. And especially with that many people that we have to deliver on, we don't want a fire fest situation. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
gotta deliver every time.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated because I think you've done an incredible job to build community, like it's just I see your personal brand blow up, and like you said, like you within like 4 minutes of you just announcing on your Facebook group, just sending emails, like selling out, like I don't think that's normal. So I think what you've created is actually pretty profound and pretty like awesome. So I'm gonna give you a virtual high five because that is like seriously insane. And so
Thanks.
I'm super curious, like everyone right now, like post-COVID, like everyone wants a side hustle. Everyone wants to be like a lifestyle coach. I want to be like an online, like, like business mentor or a clinical mentor. Like, how would you like, what type of, I guess, what can you share with helping someone that wants to build an online community, to do something very similar? Maybe not to open up like an event that 600 people, maybe like 20 or 50 or 100 people. Like what would you do?
To anybody that wants to do that, who wants to start this side hustle, who wants to build something, who's passionate about something, I feel like you got to start first with what your passion is. But the other thing is I feel like I would gift everybody patience. Patience, like being patient with the process, because I feel like everybody wants to do it and they think it's going to happen overnight. You can say that, oh, I just put it out in my email list and we sold out. But what really that was 4 years before that, me coming into my Facebook group every single day for free, or every single week for free. I was doing something called a huddle up in the pelvic PT huddle, and I would talk clinical stuff. I would talk business stuff. There's so much free stuff that we do, so much stuff that I truly care about, all the DMs, all of the things outside of my paid stuff. I mean, I do have some courses and stuff like that that people can pay for, but I also have tons, years of content. We have a podcast, like all of that is really, I think, where you build that trust. And so for anybody starting, it's really that. I mean, don't you agree? I feel like a lot of people think that
Yeah.
it's just going to happen overnight, and it's
No,
just like,
no,
no,
no, no.
no.
The amount of people, you know, what's interesting, because if I reflect back into like how I got started, I was literally doing 10 years of blogging, collecting emails, like Instagramming, and like, you know, and being social in social media
Mhm.
versus just creeping
Yeah,
and
totally.
adding value and just building trust and relationships, like, and all that nurturing, which was it like easily 10 years, you know.
Yeah. And
And
it
then
has
that
to be
turned into this, like, it turned into this relationship where people are saying, hey, you know what, like, can I work with you? Or like, hey, can you help me with
right.
like this issue? Or like, hey, do you do business coaching, or you do this type of thing?
Right.
And that's kind of how it kind of started, by helping and like just getting your stuff out there, right? You know?
Totally. And I think that it has to come from a place of, and I think this is like the juxtaposition of it all, right? Is that I think you and I would be doing that regardless. That's what my passion is. And so passion drives my time. So it's like
Mm.
that I would be doing that if I wasn't getting paid. But and now we happen to have paid programs for that very reason, is that people were asking, and I was like, well, instead of saying the same thing, 1,000 times, I'm going to say it once, and then it's over here now if you want. Now, if you also want to dive through my podcast and go through everything we say, and that kind of stuff is in there in some form
Yeah.
or fashion. But I just feel like it comes from an authentic place. It comes from I'm not gonna. I feel like people get it wrong when they say, "Hey, I have this course, and now I'm going to force people to care about it." Instead, it's
Yeah.
like I want you to care about it first, to the point where you would give it away for free, and then people
Yeah.
will end up paying for it, but only in
Yeah.
that direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, it has to come from a place where it doesn't, like you said, your passion kind of like, you know, comes out, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look like you're just trying to sell them something, right?
Right. And so I think that's where, it's one thing for one or two people to come to you and say, "Hey, you should really do this thing." It's like there has to be like a critical mass of people that are like, "Hey, I really want this from you. Can you please do this for me? You've helped me so much already." And then they'll
Yeah.
sign up, and you know what I mean? So it's like it's that helping process, and that takes time. And so that's what
Yeah.
I would say to people. I would give them the gift of patience um,
Yeah.
when they're going to start this process.
But you know what's interesting? Like, I reflect back when I started, you know, I think about now, just with social media, and just with like all the different avenues, whether it's like Instagram, like Facebook, or like TikTok, or YouTube, is that if you know who like your audience is, and like who your people is, and you craft a message and a passion and a mission that resonates like with your tribe and your community, it is way easier to do it now than
Oh,
10 or 15 years ago.
yeah, right. Yeah, we didn't have all, even I would even say even 5 years ago. Like
Yes.
it is,
Yeah.
it is exponential. It's the never been a better time to
Yeah.
do that kind of stuff. And I think that there's a lot of ways that it does make it easy. And then also at the end of the day, it's still, I think that's where people also get it wrong sometimes. It's like, it's not like my Instagram is me, like that, it's me. Sorry. Did it just, something happened? My
Is everything okay?
Instagram is
Is
me.
you.
is
Yes.
me. And so,
Who else would it be if it's not you?
yeah, right, right. But it's like, that's, if someone meets me in person, like
Yeah.
that is who you're going to get.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah.
it's like, there is that, I feel like I'm not creating anything other than amazing, good content that I feel like people should have. It's like, it's me. It is personal. Like, those relationships are real.
Yeah.
Those friendships are real, even though I may have not have never met somebody in person. Like, I care
Yeah.
about people's businesses for real. Like, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, I think, still exists. And that
It
is
comes
the
from a place
power of
of
social media.
authenticity, right? And people see through that,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Super, super cool. Yeah, I think after COVID, the amount of people that I know that are doing these online courses or they want to build a community, like it's just like skyrocket like crazy. And there's some people who are crushing it, and there's other people who are like, well, how do I be like Nicole, right? Or how do I like build a community like Rick Lau? And so if you were to like put together like a sequence of like marketing activities they would do, like what would the top be? Like you would get them to a Facebook group, like what would be the very beginning?
Yeah.
One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, how can you help me grow my clinic? So every year we put together an annual event called the Clinic Boss Summit. It's basically the Woodstock for everyone interested in growing or selling your multi-million-dollar practice. You're going to meet over 300 of the world's top clinic owners. The network is going to be insane. It's 3 days. You're going to learn everything from marketing, finance, HR, recruitment, and sell your clinic. And the best part, it's going to be Orlando, Florida on January the 26th. It's one of my favorite cities to hang out in January because you get the sunshine, palm trees, and best theme parks. We usually sell every year within the first couple of months, so grab your tickets now. Go to clinicaccelerator.com to grab more details.
And I think you should maybe pick one. I don't think you have to do a Facebook group anymore. I think I've had a lot of success with that. And I think people are still on Facebook mostly for the groups, but I feel like you'd pick one online platform that you really love. I think that for me personally, when I'm also having other things to do, like my clinic and Pelvicon and everything like that, like if I'm trying to do it all, I'm not doing any of it well. So if I love video content, then I need to choose a platform that does video content. If I love blogging, even though blogging itself like might not be like the most sexy thing to do anymore, how can you get your written content in front of people? Is that an email list that you start? Is it something? So I'd feel like I'd pick one thing that you're really good at and that you really like. And then start there. For me, that happened to be Facebook groups. And now it's both Facebook and Instagram. And then I would say that you just got to show up consistently. And even if that only means once a month for you, then you show up consistently once a month. I think that people do it in these spurts because they get all excited and then it goes silent. And
I think the key word is consistency. Even if you look at everyone's like Instagram account, people don't consistently like post, right? It's so inconsistent. It depends on their mood or like what's going on in their life, whether they're happy or sad, whether they're on vacation or like someone quit on them,
Yeah, totally. And that's part of it, right? So you have to show up consistently. So that's like part of it too. And then, and then I would, also make sure that people are doing something that you can also own. So I would also simultaneously with that, make sure that you're having something where you can gather your own email list, right? Because if we're on these free platforms.
So email still works, right, Nicole?
Oh my gosh. Email is powerful.
Okay.
Email is powerful. As long as it's authentic and it's not annoying and you're still
it's valuable email that people actually want to read. Yes,
absolutely.
100%.
So it has to be that. I mean, our open rates on our email list is like huge. It's like in like 50%, which is like unheard of, but that's because people want that. We don't put BS in there. We don't put things that people don't care about in there. It's like, that's what it is.
Your people, your tribe, so and I think you hit the nail on the hammer. Like this is something I talk to a lot, is that like all the social media channels out there, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, like you're really renting those platforms So you don't really own those assets, right? You know, the only real asset you own is an email address or a phone number, right?
Totally.
And I think everyone during COVID got really tested because when everything shut down, everyone was relying on the phone numbers and emails to actually get people to come to their clinic or to reactivate them or to do something like virtual, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's really important to remember is that we have to have something that we own. And it also helps if you understand that it's an amazing free, Instagram's free, right? So it's like, if you understand that, it's like, it's a blessing that we have that. And you can't get mad at the algorithm. Oh, they changed this. You got to figure it out, ride it, and just be consistent and figure out how you're going to make sure that the people that are following you there know you and that are coming to you also through your email list, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. And then I just want to reiterate the thing you talked about. I know I'm a big fan of that as well, is that like, don't move on to another platform or channel until you master one of them, right?
Yes.
Because what you don't want to do is be, you know, okay at Instagram, okay at Facebook, okay at TikTok, but you don't get traction on any of them, right?
Exactly. Totally. And I feel like
that's the mistake that I see a lot of people make, right? So
yeah. And I feel like you got to understand who your audience is. Like the content that we make for Pelvic Sanity is very different because that's a patient facing platform. Is very different than the content we make for Pelvic PT Rising. And so it's also understanding who you're talking to and who you're most passionate to help, and stick with one audience until that audience builds and it becomes easier. And then if you wanted to diversify, you can, if your passion lies there. So I think that's another unique thing about something that I've done. Like Pelvic PT Rising wouldn't exist unless Pelvic Sanity was successful. So like Pelvic Sanity was successful first, my in-person brick and mortar clinical practice.
So that's your clinic, right?
That's my clinic. That's my patient facing stuff. All of that stuff is all client patient focused. So, and then that became successful and I became known for having Pelvic Sanity. And then it was like, oh, she was a good clinician. And then it was like, oh, I also have this passion and I'm noticing things in the field that I want to change. And so I also then created something that talks specifically to practitioners. But those two things are very different. And one happened first and then the other one happened. I didn't try to do both at the same time. I think that was it's another important piece of like, oh, how do you do it all now? It's like, well, Pelvic Sanity is a different entity than Pelvic PT Rising is. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is the problem that all us CEOs, entrepreneurs have, right? We got that shiny object syndrome. We're working on one business and we want to start the next one, right?
Yeah. Right. And you have to be disciplined, right? And that's where you come back to that consistency you were talking about and proof of concept to make sure that like your idea might be great, but if it's that great, it's going to be great a year from now as it is right now, and make sure that you're taking care of your home base first.
Yeah. You know what? I'm super curious because I'm seeing a lot of like owners starting to do this. Like a lot of the owners are like, hey, you know what? I need to have a personal like brand, you know, so that it helps you with recruitment, you know? And I think like when I think about your business and what you've done, like that's really kind of helped you with that. Have that helped you with recruitment, you know, in terms of like PTs for your brick and mortar business, like just because of your personal brand and all that stuff that's happening? Social?
You know, it's a very interesting question. I will say the short answer is yes, but I think that I still had to work at it a lot. And so I think that people maybe have listened to the podcast a little bit, but that's different and they might know of me. They maybe took a course from me, but that's very different than getting somebody to apply to my job and actually come to Southern California. So it's different. And then there's a lot of things that go along with that, right? So some people I've talked to where I'm like, you live right here. Why haven't you applied? And they're like, oh, well, I thought that you only hire experienced clinicians. You see people from out of town. I don't think I'm ready for that yet. So now all these people's like limiting beliefs in their own mind are holding them back from that. So in some ways it's challenging actually. that way. So
Don't you have a clinical training? Don't you have a clinical training program that trains PTs?
yes,
Okay,
well, now I do, right?
okay,
So now
okay,
I do, but I didn't start out like that. So I've
okay,
learned now as a business
okay,
entrepreneur,
cool.
one of the things that we were talking a little bit before, and you were like, what are you paying attention to right now the most? And I'm paying attention mostly to that creating that hiring pipeline and creating an amazing job that's going to attract the kind of person that I want to work with. And I think that if you think about what my vulnerability is at Pelvic Sanity, my clinic is staff. And so I have to be very conscious about recruiting and
Yeah,
recruiting pipeline and making sure
yeah,
that people know how to apply, what it means to live in Southern California. There's so
yeah.
much misconception around that. I mean, there's just a lot of challenges around that. So I feel like the first answer to your question is yes, I do think it's helped my online presence to build a recruitment, but we still have to work really hard at that.
Yeah.
To make sure that everything's in alignment and everything that they think they're actually getting, when they come to the
Yeah.
clinic and stuff like that. So it's been hard, especially post COVID.
Yeah, I heard that. Do you know Josh Funk, Nicole?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
Redhead.
you should check him out because he's this he's a good friend of mine. He has 9 clinics in Marysville, right?
Oh, cool.
And he owns a company called Rehab to Perform, and his social is quite strong, but he also has like this like clinical training program. It's been this amazing pipeline, you
Yeah.
know, to nurture clinicians who end up taking that course and they end up like doing internships with them, and it ends up like actually wanting to work at his clinic afterwards. Like he's
Yeah.
he's figured it out. Like we were just out in Phoenix at the Web PT conference. We both were speaking, and he was sharing his story on that. It's a wicked story, and it sounds like there's a lot of like parallels with what you're doing, and because you're doing very similar things as well, because
Yeah.
Josh
Yeah.
just
Yeah. So, and
spoke to me
now
about
and to your point, and to, Josh's point, it's like, now that we have what I've seen work, now we just need we're making it much more streamlined and an actual program. And that's what I
yeah,
feel like is missing, because especially in the pelvic health world, people go into pelvic health and then they're looking for mentorship. They're looking for guidance. They don't want to be
yeah.
the only pelvic health provider at their clinic. So if we can provide that, then that's amazing. And that's one of my other big passions, is not as much patient care anymore, but it's teaching, training, seeing patient care through the eyes of my clinicians. And that's what really gets me excited. That's what I'm excited to do. So it's all
That's what
working
lights you
out
up.
perfectly. That's what lights me up, man. It's like,
I can tell by your eyes. You're like,
I
oh,
love it. It's so
yeah,
amazing. And helping them to see when they're stuck on something, helping them to get to the answer of where they need to go with that patient. That's what I love to do. So we have like an actual clinical mentorship program at my clinic that is very structured,
yeah,
that everybody goes through, that, so that's another piece of that recruitment piece, is not just how do we get them there, but then how do we keep, like you said, nurturing them and having them grow as a clinician at our clinic. And that's what we're really proud of, that we're
yeah,
very consistent on.
yeah. It's cool, super cool. And yeah, and I guess on the next topic was that like right now there's so much stuff going on, like in the economy, like in the news, changes in our industry, like there's a war, there's inflation, there's declining reimbursements, the student loans, the wage pressures, the fear of recession. Like
Yep.
what's top of mind for you right now, outside of because I think you mentioned the labor shortage. Outside of that, what's kind of top of mind of you right now, like that you're paying most attention to?
I think ultimately so outside of that, I'm paying most attention to the overall growth of awareness of pelvic health in our area. So
Okay.
I feel like worldwide, if you would have said the word pelvic floor 10 years ago, people would be like, wait, what is that? I'm not really sure. People now are understanding what it is. They're hearing about it. They're learning about it on things like TikTok. And so I think that what I'm paying most attention to now is meeting people where they are and trying then to, for Pelvic Sanity anyways, trying to help them to understand how we can help them and what best care and standard practice is. Because now with almost so much information, they're bombarded with, wait, what do I really do? And and how can this person help me? And why should I go to you when I can do an online program from a personal trainer and that kind of stuff? So we're really like working into how can we help patients where they are and own our expertise essentially in that way. So that's going to be our next sort of challenge.
Check this out. I just went on Google to look at Google Trends. It's exactly what you said. This is the search term pelvic floor here, Nicole.
Yeah.
Worldwide. This is back in 2004.
Yeah.
And
it's like
this hockey stick curve right now, right? It's insane, you know?
Yeah. So when you think
so
about
this is trending good, isn't it, Nicole? It's not like it's going opposite, right?
Freaking awesome. So that's what I'm paying attention to. And then where are those people hearing about it and how? And then how can we sort of insert ourselves into their thinking when their attention span on social media, for instance, is not that long. So how can we, be a presence for them? How can we educate through that platform? And I think it's, I think it used to be that I would say that, as a clinician, you don't really need to be on social media. And I think as a business owner, it's imperative now. You don't really have a choice anymore. And even as a clinician, it's where your patients are. And so, but they might not know their patients yet. So I think that that's where we need to sort of look at and really grapple with what is our role in patients' lives? Because I feel like it used to be that we just fixed symptoms and that's it. And now it really is into wellness, optimizing, and that kind of stuff, which is why I think that cash-based therapy is going to kind of be the wave of the future and all
your
of that.
Clinic is your clinic is 100% cash-based, right? Like, or even
100%.
or out of network or cash.
It's all out of network cash. We don't bill. We just give a super bill, and and we have and I have 6 clinicians. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And so I'm curious, is that like, do you think it's, because your clinic is 100% pelvic floor, you don't do anything else. Like your specialty is like, is pelvic floor, right? Do you see a world, do you think it's possible for some of these existing like, multi-million-dollar orthopedic clinics to actually add like $500,000 or $1 million of a pelvic floor revenue line into their practice? Like cash. Right.
I think they can. I think it's possible.
Have you seen it or no?
I have not seen it done well.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
I have not seen it done well either. Like
yes.
I see specialty clinics do really well, but the ones that do it that have like, they're doing a couple of $1 million already. They want to introduce like whether it's like a new service or like a cash practice, but they can't get it started, right?
Right. And I mean, and that's where you go back to, is this really your passion? Do you know what the hell you're doing? I really, truly believe that pelvic floor therapy is it's very different than ankle, foot, back. The marketing's different. The way the patient's problems are different. I think that the way that the clinic is set up needs to be different. So that's where I feel like people struggle. If you're trying to just add it on because you see that trend line and you're like, oh, I'm going to do it too. It's like, right. But you can't have, in my opinion, you can't have a high school kid doing zigzag drills right next door to a person that's telling you that they haven't had sex in 5 years. And do you know what I mean? It doesn't fit. So I think that's why people struggle with they just see the trend line. They see, oh, we got to add pelvic floor. I'm going to hire a pelvic therapist. And then they make that person do their own marketing. And it's like, but now it doesn't our clinic vibe is calm. It's more like a spa than it is a physical therapy clinic. So I feel like that's where I always talk to people. I'm like, you cannot dabble in pelvic health. You either need to be passionate about serving that population or just GTFO, like just don't do it because you're doing a disservice to those patients.
So how would you, so if you're, let's just say you have an existing clinic is doing $1 million already, like what's a right way of doing it then, you know?
If you have like an existing orthopedic clinic,
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
then I think that you'd have to have a dedicated space for your pelvic floor clinic that has soundproofed walls, that has a nice like vibe, that has like low lights, like a table warmer, something that's going to make somebody that
it's
walks
like going to a
into
spa,
that,
right?
like feel very safe. And that feels very safe. You're going to be in a vulnerable position. You're going to be talking about vulnerable things. That's not just out in that's not a curtain. That's not in a closet. That's not next to a high school kid who's talking about, their ankle sprain and needing to go to football practice the next day. There's a certain type of intimacy that needs to be created. So if you're thinking about adding a pelvic health component, you have to think about the type of person that you are going to be bringing into your clinic. And that needs to have a separate intake form. And that's pelvic
a separate
health
door
specific.
to go in, right?
Maybe. Or just like and you have to train your front desk staff to know that like, a person that's coming in for pelvic floor might not be able to sit down. So don't say have a seat. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of things that need to go into that if you're going to do it well. So if you are at a managerial level, that's like just looking at the numbers, but you don't really have a passion, I would say like, listen to the therapist that's saying, hey, we need this and that and a table warmer and another light, turn off the fluorescent lights, I need a dimmer. Like you might think that person's like super extravagant and like, but they're not. They're trying to create a safe environment for talking about very intimate things with somebody.
Well, what happens if they brought in like a clinical lead where their passion was a pelvic floor and they were responsible for creating this because they're passionate about it and they want to make these changes, but like you got to give them the power and the authority to be able to make these changes, right?
Absolutely. And a budget that's going to work. I think that it's not a ton of upfront equipment and stuff, but there is a level of detail that needs to be there to make that, and I'm just going to say it again, a safe environment to have somebody come in and be able to talk about peeing, pooping, sex. Like no one wants to talk about that in a upbeat, like, you got like your bumping, like music playing, like, no, it needs to be like very like chill. So it can be done, but no one's doing it well as far as I can tell.
Okay. Interesting. But yeah, you know what? I think you explained how to do it, but interesting. Because I think a lot of people see the opportunities, and when people with these declining reimbursements, right, like everyone's like, okay, there needs to be another way. Like you're looking at revenue diversification, but like you said, no one's kind of figured it out. Or maybe they got to hire people like that's within your, within your community who are passionate, right?
Yeah. Right. So it's like, if it's not you, then you at least have to listen to the person that is. And then we have to be able to put your money where your mouth is. Like if you're going to start a pelvic floor program, you got to be able to do that. And your pelvic floor patients, ironically, are probably already coming into your clinic. So there's a lot of internal marketing that can go on with questionnaires and cross referrals. And it can be a beautiful thing. But it just has to be done in a way that's going to serve the patients the best, I think.
Yeah. And so, and what would you say is like what would you say are like 3 ways that you could, like market pelvic floor the easiest, right? For a clinic in this environment,
that's already an ortho clinic.
Yeah. Because it's not part of their messaging, right? It's very different, right? It's
very different. But I would say, I mean, I think that screening your current patients for pelvic floor problems and teaching and having a teaching environment that for your pelvic health therapist and your ortho therapist would be able to talk and be able to talk about those things. So I have a screening protocol that's, a 10-question questionnaire that shows like, would your person benefit from a pelvic floor evaluation? And if you answer 3 or more of the 10, it's like, that can be like a good way to have your ortho patients screened for pelvic health concerns and just to know that this is a thing that we can help with. So I feel like there's that. There's just community outreach and community workshops, I think, that you can do on the connection between things like low back pain and pelvic floor dysfunction, about pregnancy and postpartum. So a lot of it is if your patient has had a baby, like we always say in the pelvic health world, once postpartum, always postpartum. And so there's different lens to look through for those folks too. So I feel like that's another way to sort of get into the pelvic health world through recently having a baby, returning to exercise, which is already in the wheelhouse of physios. But then taking it into that next level and making sure that your exercise prescription and the way to get back is also taking the pelvic floor into account. So I would say that those two things are probably most important to think about.
Wow, cool. And there's tons of Facebook groups to support these communities too. You just got to be social in them, right? Right? Or be helpful, right?
Moms groups are like huge. So like we can post one thing in a mom's group and get like 3 patients. It's pretty crazy.
No, we have a girl in our community. She's not in your program, but her window, she's built up a pretty decent sized pelvic floor business, and she's 100% just leaning on these Facebook groups, like these mom groups that you talked about, and just adding content, not like trying to sell the service, but just like it being helpful. Like, here are doing this, blah, 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 just getting in there and adding value and helping people who have concerns or problems within that Facebook group, right? So
and that might be something too that like a clinic owner doesn't think about. Like, let's say you have an orthopedic practice and you want to add pelvic floor, like you could also add into that clinician's time of how they're getting paid. Like, hey, you need to be active in these groups. And does that person want to do that? Or talking to the admin of that group. Like that's a different way of marketing than just putting up a
pay them to market.
Right. You can absolutely. And that's, it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And, but I think that that's a different way. Like, it's not just, jerking around on Facebook. It's like, no, like there's a very targeted group of people that can use your services. We just have to get them to understand that that we're here and that we can help and that we're the experts to do that.
Yeah. I love that. Cool. Wow. Geez, so much like gems from you. And so last thing I just want to ask you is, like, you're juggling so much right now. You got a baby, you got a newborn, you're running a clinic, you got Pelvic Con, and then, which is a new thing. And you also have like, your clinical and business coaching. But like, how do you do all this? Like, how do you manage like, life and business and personal stuff? And is it even possible to have balance, or is it like this roller coaster of sprints and?
Ooh, good question. I think, but first of all, I think that I'm going to read you this quote that is one of my most favorite quotes. And it really kind of is going to answer your question. Then I'll tell you like tactically what we've done, especially since having a baby, with time blocking and stuff. But it says, the master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor, his leisure, his mind, his body, his information, and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever they do, leaving others to decide if he's working or playing. To them, he's always doing both. So for me, I really do. We've had to carve out special time now when we have a Clay is my son's name, because I think that to stay present in his growth and development, that is important. And that's something that we didn't do before. But I do think that if you're passionate about something, then it's fun. Like, so when we're sitting around and we're having dinner, we're talking about this kind of stuff. How can we help people? What can we do? Like, it is fun for us. So, So I don't, for us, we don't separate a ton of stuff. It's just both. And I run the businesses with my husband. So for us, it's just sort of intertwined in our lives. You asked this question, like work-life balance, like, we do working vacations a lot. So we just got back from Palm Springs and we had a week there. Sure, we did a couple of calls from there. We worked from there a little bit, but we still also had an amazing time of relaxation and family time, and we can do both. I think logistically, I've had to do a much better job since Clay was born time blocking. So Monday's my pelvic sanity day. Wednesday's my pelvic PT rising day. Thursday is my client facing day where I do most of my calls. Tuesday afternoon is that. Tuesday morning is where Jesse and I do stuff together. Like Friday's free and overflow. So we've had a lot more to do with
blocking and batching. Yep.
Blocking and batching.
Love
and
it.
I've had to be way more disciplined with that since Clay was born. But at the end of the day, I do think that there are times when there's like a little bit of shit going down, and you've got to, abandon that and just like focus on the problem at hand. And then other times where you got to make time for creativity. And that's where that time blocking and task batching and stuff has become really in handy. But that quote, we come back to that quote a lot because everyone asks us, like, how do you do it? You're working so much. And it's like, well, to us, we're not really working all the time. Like to ours,
you love what you do.
We love what we do. So it's not like that.
Actually, that's a good one, because if you feel like it's work, then maybe it's because you don't love what you do. Back to the passion thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the core of it.
I mean, I really truly believe that like I have a bigger mission than just treating patients or just like that. When you read it at the beginning, like I want to change the way that people, clinicians, patients think about and treat the pelvic floor. Like it's a big mission. And so I think when you have that big of a mission and that big of a passion, then there's a lot of avenues to get there. And if that stays at the forefront, then it never really seems like a grind or work is like such a drag. I mean, there's stuff that happens that's annoying or challenging. But it's all because there's that bigger mission involved. And I think if you keep that in the forefront, then it never feels like a drag.
Yeah. Cool. Wow. That was awesome. And I think your philosophy on like work-life balance, or these sprints, like I think I 100% agree with you. Like I'm kind of aligned that same way as well. And I think when we begin the show, I was just sharing with you, like I'm in Italy for the next 3 months and I'm doing the exact same thing. I love what I do. I also want to be able to like, check off as much like personal bucket lists, and professional bucket lists like in my life. And so, and so by me designing my life where I have a business that I love, I got a team that allows me able to do what I want to do. And plus, I'm also like doing all these like cool, amazing little ventures with my little family. Like it's very fulfilling. So that allows me, it drives me to like excel in all three buckets. Right. So,
yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, now that we have Clay, I strive to do similar things and very excited about it. And I just feel like there's just so much opportunity out in that mission that it's like, we're just going to be so fun,
Awesome. Well, it's awesome having this show. And how do people find out more about you, Nicole? Like how do they get in touch with you and learn more about, what to do and how to get inside your community?
Yeah. So a couple different ways. I mean, the biggest way is to just go to pelvicptrising.com. That has all of the links to the different stuff that I do. If you're on Facebook and you're a clinician, you can join the Pelvic PT Huddle. If you have patients that have pelvic pain issues, then I have a private Facebook group for pain patients, and that's Finding Pelvic Sanity. My clinic is Pelvic Sanity. It's pelvicsanity.com, and that's on Instagram as well. And I'm at Nicole Cozean DPT on Instagram. So lots of different ways to make that, but the best way is probably just pelvicptrising.com and has all of my clinic facing stuff.
Amazing. Cool. Well, thanks for having your show. And I am super excited to hopefully meet you in person soon.
I know, Rick, we got to make it happen. Maybe in Italy or something.
That maybe, yeah.
Or
maybe the next marketing conference that you and Jesse will end up going to. Like, do you guys go to any ones outside of the industry?
No, well, actually, it's funny you said that. We're just talking about needing to go to something outside of the health and wellness industry even. So we were looking at like Aspire or some other type of, so I'll have to talk to you about like which ones are are great because
You
we
should
wanted
go to the
to.
Russell Brunson one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like Kajabi had one. So
Yeah.
we'll see it but the Russell Brunson one.
I think you and Jesse would like the Russell Brunson one. It's called the Funnel Hacking Live.
Funnel hacking. Yeah, we've looked at that before. We should do that. Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be on the list.
Yeah. So, but thanks again for having the show. And yeah, so we'll just kind of wrap from there. But it's awesome. Thanks for being on here. Like, I love chatting with you. It's kind of cool to like learn what's kind of going on in your world. And I'm so super, I'm super proud and impressed, like just kind of like what you've done over the years with building your community, so super.
Thanks so much.
Awesome.
I really appreciate you having me, Rick. I admire a lot of things that you do as well. So thanks so much.
Yeah. So sounds good. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later then, Nicole. And hopefully you're going to enjoy, the next, not only the next 10 years or 23 years of Clay's life, but yeah, you're gonna love this whole parenting thing. Like, I love it. So
that's so great. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Bye.
We'll talk to you in IG. Bye.
Bye.